What's going on, everybody? Lil Chris here, and in today's video, I bring you my second APA 8-ball match from my last live stream. And in this particular match, I want you to pay close attention to the type of strategy that you hear me repeat throughout the match. So sit back and enjoy this one, and I'll see you when it's over. Here we are with another match. And in this matchup here, I am playing up against a skill level 6 this time. So the race is going to be my 5 to their 4. Now, I happened to turn on my camera after we lagged, and so clearly you can see I'm not the one breaking here, so I lost the lag. So now we're going to have inning counts after every time that I missed. So let's see what happens here with this matchup here. And this is a guy that I've played against before. I think I have maybe 2 videos against this opponent here. I actually have one really funny video against this opponent here because it's where I knocked in the 8-ball early. I completely forgot that I had one more solid left on the table, and when he missed, the 8-ball was just sitting in a pocket. I just walked right up to the table and just shot the 8-ball. And when I shot the 8-ball, I saw my ball and kind of collapsed onto the table and just started dying laughing, not realizing that, oh my gosh, I just accidentally lost the game because I spaced out and didn't realize I had another ball. But like I said, I play this guy a couple of times whenever we're playing up against this team here, so let's see how this matchup goes. All right, did he make a ball? He's coming back to the table, so I guess he did. What's on the table? It looks like he stripes. Now you see here now, just like in my last match, like he immediately comes to the table and starts shooting, right? It's not like there's anything wrong with that, because if you're at least able to come up with a plan like that fast, then I mean, cool. But you'll see from me, like whenever I come to the table, I'm walking around the table. I'm, making sure I understand where all of my balls are at on the table, and then I come up with some sort of plan. Because like right now, when I'm watching this, I'm wondering what is he going to do with that 14 ball, because you can see it looks like he tried to break it out, but he ends up missing his 12 ball. So now I get to come to the table, and I don't really see that I have an issue on the table, with the exception of because of where the cue ball's at. I don't really see that I have a decent opening shot. What do I end up doing here? Wouldn't be smart for me to try the 4-1 combination. Am I gonna go look at it? You see how I'm walking all over the table and really trying to figure out what I'm gonna do first. But what am I doing? I'm staring at the 2 ball. Am I gonna? Okay, I'm gonna try to bank the 2 ball into the side pocket. I probably have a little bit of right spin on the cue ball here. Let's watch the cue ball. Yeah, that's definitely some right spin, and I ended up under banking it. Because look, if I'd have made the ball, easy shot on the 6, maybe a shot on the 3 ball. Who knows? Who knows what I would have done after that? Uh-oh. So my opponent, I ended up probably almost selling out the rack there because my opponent shoots his stripe in. Didn't get the best of positions on the 14 ball. Looks like the 14 ball is at least cuttable to the top left corner pocket. Cue ball is probably going to run into the 5 ball. But then what happens after that? Does the 5 ball run into the 8? Where does the cue ball go after it hits the 5 ball? It's got a lot of topspin. Cuts the ball in. Yeah. See what I mean? Now, that was actually pretty good considering that the 8 ball knocks in my 6 ball, and now the 8 ball has a pocket, but it doesn't look like he can shoot at it. It looks like the 3 ball's in the way. I don't know who would have. Yeah, he's gonna try to kick it in. Who would have tried to mass aid or curved around the 3 ball? Any takers in the chat? Who would have tried to curve the cue ball into it? So you see, he tries to kick the 8, ends up hitting the side rail and then hitting the 8, no contacting no rail after that. So now I'm at the table, and I've got ball in hand. So as I'm like, what am I gonna do? Same question that I've asked before. It looks like y'all already see. Let's Let's let that person go by. I'm going to be starting with the 3 ball. What would everybody else start with? You got ball in hand. What kind of pattern would you think that you would run? Because if I'm playing the 3 ball, see that the 3 ball is going here. More than likely going to have my cue ball just come up and probably stop right here. I can shoot the 7. I can shoot the 2. What would y'all start with? Would y'all also start with the 3? Or would y'all do something else? Let me know. Robin Bart says he'd play a safety. What kind of safety would you play, Robin? Maybe put the cue ball right here and kind of just bank the 1 ball up like this and try to get the cue ball to just tuck right in after after that. When you got ball in hand, you got a wide open table. Oh, I love it. Let's see. Corner 4 Billiards says 3241758. So we got 3, 2. That means the 4 goes over here. The 1's got to go over here. 7, 5, 8. I like that. I don't see any issue with that. Nate would also start with the 3. Kevin Millhouse says he would start with the 1. So, again, there's nothing wrong with starting with the 1. But what will you do with the 3? Right? I ask that because think of the type of work that you have to put in order to be able to get the 3 ball available. Because after you play the 1, maybe play the 4, maybe play the 2, you might have a shot at the 7 to go over here, which means if you're at least the cue ball somewhere right here, you might be able to just kind of separate these two. But then where does the 3 ball go after that? Right? Those are things that you should consider when you're thinking about what is the ball that you're going to start with first. And what I typically like to advise is that you start with the ball that is the hardest to play position on, if you're able to. Because clearly, if a ball that you want that is yours is cluttered up, that's not a ball that you're going to be shooting at, right? Because you're not just going to hit your ball that's in a clutter and hope that it's going to go in. What you'll probably be looking for is a ball that you can play and break the clutter out at the same time. But in situations like this, since I have no clutters, the 3 ball is the hardest ball for me to play position on, even if I were to try to construct some other type of pattern. That's why I start with the 3 ball. And then let's see what happens after that. So, probably, like I said, a little bit of topspin as my cue ball tries to roll forward. Oh, I even grazed the 2 ball. I bet that was a mistake. But corner 4 Billiards, you said the 2 ball's next. You can see I'm going to shoot the 2 ball next. Didn't really get the angle that I want. And I end up dogging the ball. Ball in hand. I'm a 7, and I got ball in hand. I only made 1 ball. Oh my gosh. How bad is that? But fortunately, my opponent doesn't have a shot. Let's see what's gonna happen here. I can't even tell if like how much does my 7 ball block him. And what do y'all do in situations like this? Right? When you're playing against we'll just say a strong player. It looks like we got a timeout here. When you're playing against a strong player, and even if this was a purpose safety, right? I got a lucky save because 1, I'm not even supposed to miss the 2 ball. I'm still supposed to be at the table, but luckily I got a little safe here. Do y'all try to go for the win, or how many of y'all would try to go for the win, and how many of y'all would basically just not want to foul? And so by not wanting to foul, you can possibly just slide right past my 7 ball, maybe clip the 8, and the 8 goes something like this, and have the cue ball do something like this, and hope that I don't run the table after that, right? What would y'all do here? See, looking at what he just did. He's looked like he's trying to do this. He wants to 2-rail kick the 8 ball like this into the corner pocket. right? To go for the win. But what would y'all do? Would y'all go for the win? Look at that. Holy cow, that was really freaking good. Would y'all go for that, or would y'all just try to make sure that you hit the ball and not commit a foul? And really, you should almost answer that question not knowing like the skill level of your opponent should be irrelevant. Just what would you do in that situation, regardless if you're playing up against a higher skill level player or a lower skill level player. Now, can y'all imagine what ball is going to be last? Now, what do we got here? It looks like a little bit of top spin. I'm going to play the one ball into the bottom right corner pocket. Or what did I say? Right spin. A little bit of top spin. Make sure the cue ball comes out towards the middle of the table, so I have a shot at the 4 ball, so we can see that the 7 ball is going to be the ball that I use last. I can see that I got some bottom spin. What am I doing here? Bottom right spin. Spin the cue ball 2 rails around. I have a natural angle into the 7. The cue ball will go into the rail, and then just come back out, and I play the 8 ball into the same corner pocket as the 7. Pretty much like that. Oh, and I completely forgot. If you saw in the last game and in this game, we're not marking the pocket with some sort of personal object. Typically, that is what you're supposed to do in APA. But usually, what ends up happening is that when you have like 5s and above, and I don't really see it usually from 5s, but 6s and above will agree to just call the pocket. But when we play like in playoffs or cities, let alone at Vegas, there's no calling the pocket. Like you have to mark the pocket. And I actually did have someone comment on one of my matches before to where like I should be leading by example because I don't want other people to get the idea that well since I'm doing it, they should be able to do it. And they're not wrong. That is a perfectly valid statement to make. My only counter to that would be is it's one of those like do as I say, not as I do type of thing. Because when I am playing at cities, when I didn't get to play at nationals, but when I played at cities in order to get to nationals, I did always mark my pocket. And then sometimes even at the local level, I do. Like it just ends up being a natural thing to where like when I get on the 8 ball, I'll just like grab my phone or grab my wallet and just place it on the table. I don't even bother asking if it's okay to just call the pocket or not. Ooh, a little hop, skip, and a jump. Now you can see the similarities between this opponent here and even the last opponent. Like they're like rapid players. Like they play fairly fast. Good shot at the 3. And do you see something similar to what we saw in the last rack? Right? Like my opponent clearly can run. Like he can make some balls. But then what happens when he comes down to one last ball? There's a 6 ball tucked behind my 11 ball here. What happens when you can't figure out what to do with it or you leave it last like he did? I mean, he tried to break it out, but he also tried to break it out last. He didn't deal with it as soon as possible. So now he's forced to do something, which means I get to come to the table. I have a lot of balls on the table, so I can either play super aggressive and try to run out, or I can play smart, make a ball here and there, play some sort of safety to where he has to kick at his ball again, maybe get ball in hand again, right? These are positions that you really, really do not want to put yourself in. If you know you're not going to be able to finish the table, don't just start arbitrarily knocking balls off of the table and then just end up giving the table back to your opponent. Now, I actually want to go back a couple of shots here because I did try to update the cue ball diagram as I'm sitting there just rambling on and on and on. Because look what happens here. So he makes a legal hit, sends the cue ball down table, and so look at the mess that I basically have to deal with. And I already come to the table with a plan on how to deal with it. So I think even with this first opening shot here, I think the idea was I wanted the cue ball to come over here and try to just break this stuff open. So I just use a little bit of a rolling cue ball, but I don't break it open, right? I run into that 11 ball. 11 ball just field goals its way between the 6 and the 13. So when I play this 14 ball, I play this with some top left spin so I can get the cue ball around the 9 and I get perfect position on the 13 ball. I know it doesn't look like I can see the 13 ball, but I can. And so look what I do with it. A little bit of topspin. And now the rack is solved, provided, of course, that I do not mess up in any sort of execution, right? Those are the types of strategies that you want to have before you even take the first shot, right? Because unlike what my opponent did, he was going with shot after shot after shot and then ending with like his critical moment to where if he doesn't do what he needs to do, he's more than likely going to lose the game. Whereas when I did what I did here, now all I got to do is make sure that I don't mess up. Because at least when I broke out that clutter, I had multiple options. I didn't have a single option. I had multiple options. But then I can just try to come with some sort of pattern that allows me to be able to finish the rack. I think this is a little bit of bottom spin. I think all I do here is just draw the cue ball back and shoot the 8 ball into the same pocket, just like the last game where the 8 ball goes into the same pocket as the last ball. So a lot more bottom spin on this one. Oh, a little bit of right spin too, since I had a bit of a cut angle there. And then again, just another stop shot or draw shot, whatever. Right, but does that make sense when it comes to strategy on like how to approach the table? I know it's very easy to just come to the table and just start shooting balls in left and right, but then you realize that and you think to yourself that I'm gonna pause it right here as I talk about this. You think that you're doing something good because you're just making balls left and right, and you're thinking that you're ahead, which technically you are, right? You've got 1 or 2 balls left on the table. Your opponent has 7. So technically you're ahead. But what I always like to teach my APA players is that you're at a disadvantage. Because if you don't finish the table and your opponent has 7 balls left on the table, they're either going to accidentally safe you. How many of y'all have been in games where you're just sitting there like you're getting hooked one after another, depending upon the skill level of your opponent, because they've got all their balls on the table, and you're chasing after 1 or 2 balls, or you're chasing after the 8 ball, right? That's why you got to be very careful, at least in 8 ball, about just shooting balls in. You have to know if you're going to be able to finish the table or not. And if you can say to yourself and be honest with yourself that you can't finish the table or you're not capable of finishing the table, then if anything, you probably should just make like a ball or 2 and then try to improve the position of another ball, which means you're giving your opponent the opportunity to come back to the table, but that's why you also have to be aware of where their balls are at. Like, how tough is their run out? Do they have any trouble spots that they have to deal with? Because if they do, then you can probably at least have a pretty good gamble that you'll come back to the table and it'll be an improved table, because they're going to knock their balls off the table, which is going to take obstacles away from you from having to maneuver around the table and stuff, and possibly give you a better chance at finishing the table when you come back. So keep that in mind when you're playing your 8 ball games. You know, like if you see that, oh, like I can run 5 balls out, but I don't know what I'm going to do after that. If you come into scenarios like that, then chances are you shouldn't run those 5 balls out that you say you can run. You should probably just make 1 or 2, or 1, or the 2 that you don't know what to do with. Maybe try to push them out into the open and play some sort of simple safety or whatever. Because when you look at the layout that your opponent has, make some sort of judgment as to, well, are they going to be able to finish the table, right? And usually you want to, that type of call, that type of gamble, you do want to make that on a skill level basis, right? Because when you think about it, if you're playing up against a skill level 2 to a skill level 4, more times than not, if all 7 of their balls are on the table, they're probably not going to finish the table. They're probably not going to come to the table and run out, right? That's just a reality. I don't mean to say that as an insult, because is it possible? Sure, it's possible, but the probability of it is probably pretty freaking low. But when you're up against skill level 5, skill level 6, skill level 7, then you really have to be careful when you're making decisions like that, right? Because you saw here, like in that last rack for me, I was able to figure out how to open the table back up and finish the table. Those are the types of gambles that you want to be able to take, especially with the whole rant that I'm making right now about when you clear the table off, which you think you're doing a good thing for yourself, it's actually a good thing for your opponent if you don't end up finishing. I hope that makes sense. Let's see how this break goes. I think I'm up 2-0, 3 innings. Look at that cue ball! And I broke dry. Let's look at that again. Like, this is the type of break that I look for all day long. And, and I end up breaking dry. Watch that cue ball. A little bit of topspin. The weight pops it back, and bam! That topspin fights back and halts it right in the middle of the table. But I break dry. So what? But my opponent gets to come to an open table. I would much rather have my cue ball do that and make a ball. So that way, hopefully, I can break and run the table. But let's see what happens here. Robin Barnes says he likes stripes. I agree. Stripes looks really good. 14 ball in the side pocket. Okay, my concern is these two balls up here now, based on the pattern that he's choosing. Let's see what he does here with this 15 ball. Kind of just pinches it there. He's not going to be playing this. He's got to be playing the 14 ball. Okay, good shot. But see, it's the same thing, right? We're basically seeing the same mistake. And not that, like, I almost made that shot, but we're seeing almost the same mistakes over and over again, aren't we? Right? Like, my opponent is a good shot maker, but it looks like his planning could use a little bit more work. Because again, now look at me. So, like, my problem that I have at the table is the 8 ball and my 4 ball. Everything else looks fine. So when I come to the table, I have to come, like right now, you see, like, I'm not just getting down and just shooting shots. I am literally trying to map out a path that's going to allow me to finish the entire table. Now, not everybody can do this, right? I don't expect skill level 2, skill level 3s to do this. Like, that's asking a little too much because they're still learning, like, how to aim, how to hit the cue ball, top spin, bottom spin, but these are things that you should be working towards. So when you see stuff like this, hopefully you can basically just do this stuff in practice. And when you do this stuff in practice, you're going to be playing really, really slow. But that's why you practice it. So that way you can learn to process all these things and come up with all these plans quicker and quicker and quicker. So let's see how I try to develop this rack here. What is that? Is that a little bit of topspin? Yeah, a little bit of topspin as I almost broke out the 8 ball. Ooh, I remember this shot. Watch this, y'all. I think you'll like this. I would have to ask, what do you think I'm about to do here? As I'm waiting for someone on the next table to shoot. What do you think I'm going to do here? You should see the... Ooh, it looked like I was going to draw the ball there. But look at if you see the cue ball diagram, watch what's going to happen. Oh, that was so pretty. That was so pretty. Let's look at that again. Watch the cue ball's hesitation after it hits the rail. Look at that. Gently little bump on the 4 ball, get it right back out into the open. And now I got to figure out what am I going to do with the 8 ball. As we can see, I'm going to shoot the 3 ball next. Let's see, what am I doing here? A little bit of top spin, it looks like. That looked like I might have rail first it. I might have hit the short rail first. And then just with some top right spin, get the cue ball just a little bit further away from the rail. So now it looks like I'm shooting the 6 ball. What am I doing? Is that just a little bit of a rolling cue ball? Nope, stun shot. So a little bit of draw. Got good position on the 5 ball. What in the world am I going to do with the 8 ball? So it looks like I'm looking to see what kind of setup I can get myself on the 4 ball. Looks like I got some top spin on the 5. Okay, it looks like I'm at least on the angle at which I wanted to have on the 4 ball. What am I about to do here? That looks like a little bit of bottom. Am I about to do a drag shot? Yeah, that had to have been a drag shot. Oh, I must have wanted to be like right here. Like, yeah, because I'm calling the 8 ball down here. I wanted the cue ball to be right around here so I can have a straighter shot at the 8 ball to go into the corner pocket. But remember, I wouldn't even be here if I didn't knock that 4 ball loose the way that I did. What is that? Looks like that's a rolling cue ball. Ooh, clean into the pocket. Man. All right, cool. So I think that puts me up 3-0. So I hope everything I'm saying makes sense, right? And so these are things that I obviously, not obviously, that I have these discussions like with my opponents, with my local league players about like this is how I strategize 8 ball racks. And I let them know like this is how you should try to approach the table to increase your chances of winning. Because again, it's very easy to come into the illusion of look at that, did the same thing, got the cue ball to kind of stop near the middle of the table, at least made a ball this time. But it's very easy to fall into the illusion of that since you're running the table and you're ahead of your opponent, you think you're going to win, when in reality, you're actually behind. And when you only got 1 ball left on the table, you're actually hoping that your opponent is going to make some sort of mistake that allows you to shoot that last ball and then possibly win the game, which means you're not in control of the rack. And that's why you don't want to do that stuff, because you always want to try to stay in control of the rack. What am I doing here? Like did I make a stripe on the break, or I missed that 15 ball. Yeah, so I guess I was striped. And let's look at that again. Like, why did I shoot the 15 ball? Based on where I'm at. I could have shot this ball maybe. Look, if I would have made the 15 ball, the cue ball would probably be in a slightly different position, but I might have had position on this 12, and I shoot the 12 in, and then the rack is solved, right? Everything's out in the open after I do that. That's why I ended up choosing the 15 ball first. Oh, my opponent tries to muscle that 7 ball in. So now I've got this to deal with. Everything else looks fine. Let's see how I try to deal with this area here. What am I doing? Is that 10 ball in the side pocket? Probably with just a rolling cue ball. 10 ball on the side. Cue ball is just rolling around. Might have had a twist of right spin on it when it came off of this bottom rail here. Now I've got position on the 11 ball. What am I gonna do here? Like most of the time, I would have to think like, yeah, because now I'm about to come over here and look to see like where are my available positions to be able to shoot these balls. So if I'm playing the 11 ball next, I have to think that I'm getting position on one of these 2 stripes here. That looks like a rolling cue ball, and I had to have screwed up since I hit the 7 ball. I probably wanted to get the cue ball right here, just underneath the 8 ball, so that way I can shoot the 12 ball, but I had to have screwed up. So now it looks like I'm calling an audible, so I'm going to be shooting the 13 ball here into the bottom right corner pocket. What is that, some top right? Yep, as the cue ball comes around. Probably did not get the position that I was wanting. And see, now I'm doing what I basically advised against. I should have stopped somewhere, because my opponent's not going to do anything with this 3 ball, or unless he shoots the 4 and breaks out the 3. Let's see what I'm still doing here. A little bit of draw, it looks like. Stunned over to the side rail. Do I have a shot at the 15 ball? guess I do. 15 in the corner. What am I doing with the cue ball? That looks like a rolling cue ball. Oh, I'm going short side position. So 12 ball is going to be going over here. And look, like, it would have been better if I would have just scooted forward just another inch or two. Just another inch or two. So now it looks like I'm going to cut it in, and I have to be wanting to have my cue ball run into the 4. If I run into the 4 ball and make my 12, I'm golden. Just like that. If that 12 goes, then golden. 8 ball, same corner pocket. There we go. Now, do y'all see how that could have went all kinds of wrong because of that little area that I had there with those two stripes? Yeah, corner 4 billiards, when you run the table and can't finish 9 out of 10 times you will lose. I agree with that statement. So here I am on the hill, so going to try for an 8 ball break. So bottom spin with a twist of right spin. There's that 8 ball. And I made a solid, it looks like. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, I'm solids. And I don't really see an issue with solids. Do y'all? And see, I almost just zoned in on the 6 and just started shooting. And now again, I'm going to go back through my same routine and make sure that I have a plan for all of the balls. Like, what am I going to do with a 5 ball? But looks like I'm just going to play a stop shot on the 6. Well, stun, stop, stun, whatever. A little bit of below center. Does that mean do I play the combo or do I play the 7? Play the 7 ball, looks like with a rolling cue ball. So a little bit of topspin or above center. Bump into the 5 ball. 5 ball's now out in the open. And don't really think I want my cue ball tied up next to that 13 ball. Ugh. And then I'm coming down here for the 4. What am I doing? Oh, and I tried to muscle the 4 in. Would have got position on the 3 ball. Probably would have shot the 3 next, then the 5, then the 1, and then maybe the 8. Okay, draw shot off of that stripe there. Let's see how my opponent tries to pick apart this rack. Okay, so far so good. I like the way this is looking. Probably would end up taking the 10 ball next and trying to get the cue ball to come 2 rails around like this. Land somewhere over here for these 3 other stripes. Oh, he overhit it. Cue ball went exactly where I thought, but he overhit it. He's got a shot at this. What is that? That's the 14 ball to go here into the bottom left. Cue ball comes over to the side rail and come back out. Kind of like that. That's well done. Now this is starting to get questionable, unfortunately, because of the position that he got on the 11. Ooh, tries to get position for the 9, possibly to go into the side pocket. Or is he banking the 9? Oh, holy cow! Awesome shot by my opponent. He's going to bank this one too? Oh my goodness, wow. Oh man. But you miss a shot like that and you leave me 4 balls out in the open. I should be able to finish the table here. 3 ball into the corner pocket, 5 balls next, most likely 1 ball next, and then the 4, and then the 8. I have to look again. Let's go back real quick because I want to see if my opponent would have made this bank shot. He might have had a shot at the 8 ball to go into the corner pocket. That last bank shot was crucial. So rolling cue ball on the 3, probably the same thing on the 5, maybe more towards the center because I just have the cue ball hit the short rail and just come straight down towards the middle of the table for position on the 1 as I'm waiting for someone on the other table to shoot. Yeah, Robin Barnes, you're saying counterclockwise. That's pretty much the direction that I'm going to be taking this pattern in. All right, so a twist of right spin on that one. Here I can just play probably just a rolling cue ball as the cue ball will just go over to the side rail and come back out for position on the 4. Just like that. Probably, that was probably more of a stun shot than a rolling cue ball. Same thing there, stun shot with a little bit of right spin. Small back cut angle on the 8 ball to go into the top left corner pocket. Probably just a little bit of draw. And there we go. So I was able to take that one down 5-0, and I think the inning count was 6. So if I had to give any type of advice to my opponent, I think I pretty much well covered it. We saw that my opponent can shoot. He had that bank shot, almost back-to-back bank shots, and would have got position on the 8. And my opponent can run, right? Able to put together some really good runs, but not able to finish the runs. And not finishing those runs cost him the racks against a player like myself. Now, perhaps other opponents that he might have been up against before, that type of game works just fine. But against someone like myself, it doesn't. And that's why skill level really shouldn't matter. Because if you play a certain way that basically beats the top player, then that means you're going to beat everybody below the top player. So I know there's usually like this idea to where like you play to the strengths of your opponent. I don't really agree with that statement, right? Because there's a lot of times where someone might say that like if you play a lower skill level player, they will bring your skill level down because you lackadaisically play against them. Right? Because you have this attitude like I'm coming back to the table no matter what. But so you play more aggressively, you take more dangerous shots, et cetera, et cetera. I just look at that as giving you the opportunity to build up bad habits, right? When you should really basically play that lower skill level player as if you're playing against yourself. And if you're making decisions against a lower skill level player that you would not make against a higher skill level player, you might want to consider changing your thought process. And always play everybody as if your opponent is better than you, and always play smart. Because if you can say to yourself that you're playing up against a lower skill level player, then you should be able to just beat them as if they were just another skill level 7 or a skill level 6, right? Always play your best, always play the smartest. In games like this for 8-ball, running the table, though it's cool and all, but if you don't finish the table up against the wrong opponent, and I'm not even talking about a skillful opponent, I'm talking about a smart opponent. Running the table and not finishing is not the best thing in the world that you can do, because even a smart player will know to play a defensive shot here and there and basically set up the table for them to be able to run the table. So I hope that's at least some solid advice that everybody in the chat can hopefully benefit from. And that's going to do it for today's video. So I hope the strategy that I mentioned in this match made sense, where if you're able to be honest with yourself and you know that you're not able to finish the table, don't just arbitrarily pocket the balls that you can and then leave yourself with 1 or 2 object balls, or even be just on the 8-ball. Because even though it may appear that you're ahead, you're actually at a pretty big disadvantage as you're now waiting for your opponent to make a big mistake in order to give you another opportunity to be able to win the table, which means you're just not in control of the table at that point. Now, against certain types of opponents, that might be an okay strategy to have. But against a smart opponent that knows to just pick the table apart 1 ball at a time and then play some sort of defensive shot, or even against a lucky opponent that just misses a ball and then accidentally leaves you safe, it's really difficult to play catch up when you're in a position like that. So When you find yourself in scenarios like these, maybe make a ball or two, block a pocket, play some sort of a defensive shot, and gamble with the idea that your opponent is not going to be able to finish the table either. Because what they'll end up doing is clearing a couple of their balls off the table and then making it easier for you to hopefully be able to come back to the table and then finish the table. So I hope you can find this strategy useful and use it in your future matches. So if you like what you saw here, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and then be sure to click the bell notification icon to be notified whenever I go live or publish a new video. Take care, everybody.